I use and subscribe to Organic Gardening Magazine. The plans for these beds and the plans of the 5 raised beds come from that magazine. They have something called a wattled bed. It's nothing more than taking long, slender twigs and making your bed out of that. They have a log bed, and it's a shame that you don't have it so you can see. But if your tree is felled during the hurricane and you cut lengths of it and you put them end to end, side to side, you've made a raised bed. Block beds, concrete block beds. And since it's coming from Organic Gardening Magazine, I'm going to have to say that's okay, but I probably wouldn't use them because I'm afraid if any of the concrete material would leach out of the concrete. The other bed is called a rebar and plank. It's taking the same wood you have and driving a metal stake into the sides and just kind of enclosing it within that metal frame. Very easy things. Last but not least is the sandbag beds. Everybody has a lot of sandbags left over from the shore, right? All the flooding. Bring them back here, stack them on in and all around, fill it up with dirt. You got a raised bed. Okay. The last but not least handout, which you coulda, woulda, shoulda got, and I'm probably are over there somewhere, is how to build a 4 by 8 foot bed, 12 inches high. That is what these plans are made off of. So even though our beds are going to be, like this one is 4 foot by 12 foot, this one is 3 foot by 14 feet, the basic plan and the basic premise is all the same. Now the reason Organic Gardeners did this in this size is because the guy figured out that, hey, I could buy 3 2x12 boards, bless you, 1 2x4 board and some screws, and I got a bed. And there's no drops, there's no waste. And if you're in the business of building a lot of beds, you don't want to have a piece that you keep throwing in the trash. Okay? Again, that relates to sustainability as well. All right, now let's go and see what the basic components of the bed are, and then we'll talk about putting them together, and hopefully everybody will start putting things together instead of standing shivering over here. Okay. When you buy a 2x4 8 foot long, you're going to get a piece that looks like this centerpiece. All they've done is cut a 4 foot piece out for the center support, cut 4 corners out of the one piece of wood, no drop. They took a 2x12 8 foot long and they cut it in half. That gets your 4 foot ends. Done deal. These dudes are 12 feet long, but pretend they're 8 foot long. Just buy 2 more of those. Now you can just put these pieces together with some screws and you're done. Okay? So if you go to the store and you buy it, most of the big box stores today will cut the wood for you if you ask them. They may charge you a quarter, $1 or something. It's really nothing. If you don't have a saw and you don't want to learn how to cut wood, like I said, just make sure it's square. Okay? Over here, we have a partially assembled bed that our men and women were doing. And if you want to zoom in on this corner right here, you take the big piece of wood and if you notice, the short side is on the inside of the 12 foot or the 8 foot piece. You make sure that. So you got to make sure that you leave a little bit on the end of your piece before you screw the center part. But when you assemble a bed, if you're doing it on the ground like this, the best thing to do is lay your wood there. And I had a jig, but I didn't bring it in. But basically, this 2x4 is the right distance. You get that spacing from the end. You butt it up you screw it on there. And if you do it on this end, on that end, on this board, on that end, then you can just fold it up and get this piece inside as you see here, and then screw in, and you've got the basic start. And I'm sure that the people that were working on these will verify it's a little cumbersome when you're using a 12-foot piece of wood. It's heavy. You need two people to help you do it. So it's always nice to have a helper when you're building a bed. Any questions about that? This is Bob Depot, fellow master gardener, excellent friend. Comes out and helps me periodically. He's my ace #1 helper. At my shop, we designed this jig. You don't need a jig. We designed this jig so that we could make these things quickly. So Bob, if you would, you see we have the piece in here. We got it set up. Now he's going to drive the screw in, just as we would in building the bed. Okay, now if we could have, I'll say gentlemen, I'll be sexist. 4 strong gentlemen, 1 on each corner, please.
I guess I qualify.
Yeah, you're old, but you're good.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me get out of the way. We just want to lift it up and put it in the nearest bed inside the frame. Just pick it up from the corner, straight up. And you guys are going to have to walk this way. There you go. Why don't you take it all the way up? Let them clear the track.
There you go.
All the way up to the end.
But again, watch your mistakes. Don't trip.
And just put it in around the outside of that wood that's right there. Don't worry about the wood. Perfect. Of course, now the center beam's going to hit, but that's okay. Excellent. Now that you have this bed built, you can simply move it into place that you already had prepared, ready to go, because you already put down the newspaper and you put down the mulch, and you have it marked out pretty like the ladies did already. Bam, you lay it down, now you start filling it up with dirt. You grab your wheelbarrow, you go down to that big pile of mushroom compost and soil mix, bring it up here and start putting it in. Now if you notice, like I said, that 12 inches are really 12 inches, but those 2x12s are not 12 inches long, okay? So that's why we have these little stumps sticking up. What I would do is I would physically flip the bed over, put those stumps down, and kind of wiggle the bed a little bit, and it'll settle into the soil, and you get rid of some of these open air gaps that you can see. Land is never exactly flat, so you got to make up for it by settling it down in there. Now with the bed built, like I said, you just fill it up, start planting. That's the benefits of a raised bed. You don't have to know what your soil is that's there. You have to know what the soil is that you brought in to put in it. Okay? And I never talked about a soil test all this time. Very important. If you're going to do something in your own ground, get a soil test. It'll tell you the alkalinity, the acidity. It won't tell you nitrogen. They'll give you phosphorus, potassium, all these different levels. And Rutgers will even tell you what to do to make it right, depending on whether you're going to grow grass, grow flowers, or going to grow garden vegetables. Okay? So get a soil test. That's always a good first thought. If you're getting compost coming in, everything's mixed, ready to go, doesn't hurt to get that tested either, so you know where you're at. Any questions?
When you dig that soil sample, how deep do you go?
Normally they tell you what you do is you'll cut a slot in the ground, just make it like a small hole. And then they'll tell you to take your trowel and just take a shaving off the side and down probably the length of the trowel. And you take some from here, you take some from there, you take some from there, so you get a meld of it, put it into the bag, and then you'll ship it off to Rutgers. I just did that for my beds last week. So, anything about building the bed, the mechanics, anything. All right, I'll assume that I did a really good job. Thank you.